There, now it's unmute. That's all you have to do. I think we just really simplified this whole kerfuffle we always have. This is why people think it's not on. Well, we're always passing around. People are like, it's on. But if somebody touches this, because they want to see if it's on, they mute it for the next person. Oh. That's why we think it's off. It's
Okay.
just on and mute. Yeah, so you can keep. It looks like it blinks. answers.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Nehon ceremony. It's great to see so many new and familiar faces. Please have a seat. We'll begin with a period of zazen. So kids and drama school teachers, you can meet in the front room and everyone else prepare for zazen.
teachers, please explain the story of the Buddha's death.
Well done, Priest Jokai. Well done. We will give teachings on the Buddha's death. If everyone would please turn and face this way and arrange yourselves so that everyone can see. Confusing. Good morning, everybody. The day is arranged a little differently from our normal, and it has to do with recognizing what's called Nehan in the tradition. This means recognizing the passing of the Buddha. Plainly said, the Buddha's death. We have many nice words in English. Passing away, crossing the rainbow bridge, perhaps. Transitioning, that's a one. But it's very important to simply call the spade the spade. We're here to recognize the Buddha died. In our normal daily liturgy, we recognize that we too will die. That we are of the nature to die, and that there is no way to escape death. And unlike in some traditions where the central figure, I suppose, is some radically other kind of being that transcends death or is not subject to it, in the Buddhist tradition, we get very, very clear. The Buddha died. And yet, there's something more to it. There's something very profound, something very important for us all to pay attention to. Our poet, Mary Oliver, wrote an amazing poem on this subject, and I'll open some brief comments with her words. The Buddha's Last Instruction by Mary Oliver. Make of yourself a light, said the Buddha before he died. Make of yourself a light, said the Buddha before he died. I think of this every morning as the east begins to tear off its many clouds of darkness to send up the first signal, a white fan streaked with pink and with violet, even green. An old man then, he lay down between two sala trees, and he might have said anything, knowing that this was his final hour. The light burns upward, it thickens and settles over the fields. Around him the villagers gathered and stretched forward to listen. Even before the sun itself hangs disattached in the blue air, I am touched everywhere by its ocean of yellow waves. No doubt he thought of everything that had happened in his difficult life. And then I feel the sun itself as it blazes over the hills like a million flowers on fire. Clearly, I'm not needed. Yet, I feel myself turning into something of inexplicable value. Slowly, beneath the branches, he raised his head. He looked into the faces of that frightened crowd. There's a little bit of a backdrop story to this. The Buddha was doing what the Buddha did, which was teach. He was a teacher. And so he was traveling on his normal routes, giving instruction. And yet he knew it was time for him to die. He received an offering of food, and according to the tradition, you receive what's offered. Knowing that this food would be at the end of his life, he received it anyway. Went to great pains to explain to the one who donated the food that it was cool. Don't hold this against yourself. Monitors or guests. And then he found himself a tree. And it's very interesting, the Buddha's life is always surrounded by trees. He was born under a tree, came to awakening under a tree, taught under trees, and died. Same way. And so behind us, you see the Dharma school kids have made a depiction that is classically misinterpreted as the chill Buddha. In what used to be a Pier 1 import collectible. Kind of a take it easy dude, Buddha. Because he's reclining, and he's got his head on his hand. But actually, it's not just the chill Buddha, like the bobblehead thumbs up Jesus. It's different. It's a very different story. You see, the Buddha knew he was dying, and he laid down. And there was a person whose name I don't recall at this moment, do you remember the fellow's name? Traveled great distance to study with the Buddha, heard that the Buddha was near, and almost killed themselves making the journey to get to the Buddha's feet, to be able to sit and to listen to the Dharma. And in some spooky way, the Buddha knew that this was the case. And this person approached, and the disciples knew that the Buddha was dying. And this was a particularly bad time for a visit. But this questioner didn't really understand what was going on and said, no, please, I seek the Dharma. And the Buddha heard this and said, no, bring him forth. And so the very last act of his life was to muster the courage to get his head up this way and to address the questioner. Imagine yourself dying of some intestinal poisoning. Has anyone here ever been nauseous? Have you ever been nauseous? Imagine that like a lot more. And yet someone says, please help me. And through the pain and the discomfort and everything that is, he still took what energy he had left and said, yes, I'll respond. That alone is an amazing teaching. An amazing expression of the heart of the matter. So it's not really the chill Buddha. It's something far more intimate and inspirational. And so our poet has some reflections on her perspective on what this might have been. We also have text from the Pali tradition. He gathered his disciples. He addressed the questioner and gave his final teaching. He said, be your own light. The Buddha spoke to Venerable Ananda. That was his attendant, his lifelong jisha, his lifelong attendant. It may be, Ananda, that some of you will say, this is from the Pali tradition now, that without the Buddha, the sublime teacher, there is no teacher for us. No, Ananda, you should not think that way. Whatever doctrine and discipline taught has been made known by me will be your teacher when I'm gone. The Buddha in his last moments is trying to make sure that his disciples know that it's the Dharma itself that is the teaching. It's the Dharma itself that can be relied on. This body is a body. It'll do what all bodies do. Causes and conditions gave rise to it. It has its brief rise. You hang for a little while and then the slump begins. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow, but you know, bodies do what bodies do. But the Dharma is not so frail. The Dharma itself is something you can really take refuge in. Then the Buddha, addressing the other monks, said, "If any amongst you has any doubts as to the Buddha, the teaching, the order of the monks, the Sangha, then ask me now, so that afterwards you may have no cause to regret that you did not ask me while I was still with you." In Buddhism, we say that the three treasures are the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. Sensei and I met this morning, along with Enmei and some others, to help some folks who were discerning the possibility of taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha in a process known as Chikai. What this entails, what's the deal with this? They're called the three treasures. The Buddha, not only Shakyamuni, but the lineage of successive teachers, including the current ones. More significantly, it's the Buddha nature. It's that same nature that is yours, that you are an expression of. Then the Dharma, what the Buddha taught, the manifestations of that nature. And the Sangha, the community of folks to practice the Dharma, the interrelated harmony of all things. And he says to his monks here, if you have any questions on these, ask now while I'm still with you and able to respond in this form. But at these words, none of the monks said anything. None had any questions, and all of them were silent. For a second, and then a third time, the Buddha addressed the monks in the same way. And for the second and third time, the monks were silent. The Buddha said, perhaps it may be out of respect for the teacher that you do not question me. Let a friend, disciples, tell their question to another friend. And that friend can tell it to another friend. We can play telephone. And then the question can come to me, and I won't know who you were, you fool that asked the question. But still, even with the possibility of some kind of anonymity, the disciples were silent. Then the canon reads, Venerable Ananda spoke to Buddha. It is wonderful, it is marvelous, O Buddha. I do believe that in all this great company of monks and the Sangha, there's not a single one who has doubts or questions about the Buddha, the Dharma, or the Sangha, and the method of training and the method of conduct. He did a good job. We got nothing. Not yet, anyway. See, it's kind of interesting. Rather than the Buddha being the singular, unique fulcrum through which you must adhere, the Buddha simply was a human being that realized the same truth that is accessible and, in fact, is each one of us. So, utterly precious, quite ordinary, both. He said, Ananda, my body is old and decaying, and my journey is drawing to its close. I am turning 80 years of age, just like a worn-out cart. My body is neither sturdy nor strong. Have I not taught you before that birth and death, that for birth and for death there is a time, and that there is no one who once born is not bound to death. Born in this world, I have discovered the path to nirvana, severed the root of delusion, and therefore, after I am gone, be not negligent about this Dharma. O Ananda, let yourself be your light and your refuge. Seek no other refuge. Let the Dharma be your light and your refuge. Seek no other refuge. And with this, the Buddha passed. Perhaps a touching story. But there's more to it than just having a feeling. When a Sangha member dies, we don't hide it. It's not something that we just put flowers around and try to get out of the way. There's something very miraculous about this ordinary occurrence of death. In the traditional way, the body is brought right here. Actually, here. And after the family has had a time, the Buddhist business begins. And that body is here, and the Sangha is gathered. And all throughout the evening, into the wee hours, the Diamond Sutra is recited. There's always 2 Sangha members that are staggered by the hour. So there's always 2 that keep the recitation of the Diamond Sutra, teachings from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, very specific dedications. And you can hear it throughout the entire temple as this is occurring. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, 1, 2, 3 in the morning, and so on. It's a retreat. It's a powerful practice. I'm in no hurry to have one tomorrow or anything. No volunteers, please. But when it does occur, it's transformative. It's incredibly powerful. The Sangha is gathered, the teachings are recited, and the deceased is making as powerful a presentation of the Buddha Dharma as it is possible for any of us to make. And in that way, that Sangha member's death becomes an occasion of awakening. It's truly amazing. As the dawn crests through these windows and light begins to creep into the zendo, more Sangha members gather, but the recitation of the teachings keep going. As we approach the appropriate hour, which in this tradition is around 10, the family is welcomed, the community gathers in larger, and then the actual funeral occurs. All of which is really amazing. And it stems really right from this very first moment. The Buddha used the Buddha's death as a way of being useful to others with the teachings. Well, what about it? Imagine if you really knew in your gut that you were going to die. Like you really knew that. You were really in touch with that. In fact, there are some teachers who say that every time you sit a period of zazen, you should die. Let everything go. All of your identities, all of your victories and your tragedies and everything else. Completely let the entire universe go. Open your hand. Open the other hand. Open the mind. Let it all go. And pay pristine attention. Be awake. And then when that bell rings, you're back. And the arthritis is still there. But you're back. And you look around and you see the Sangha around you, and the vows begin, and it's amazing. What would you do with a day? Really, what would you do with a day if you really were in touch with the fact that it's a miracle that you have access to this? For real. People talk about it all the time, and it's easy to think about, but I mean, if you really have it in your cells, there's a koan that's very important in the Zen tradition that I'll conclude with. Why, O monk? Why, O practitioner of the Dharma? Given that the world is vast and wide, why do you put on that robe at the sound of the bell? Why, dear one, noble one, honored one? Why do you take up your practice at the sound of the bell? It is a most intimate question. And I encourage all of us to really take it up. And there are cookies. Because cookies. So what you'll see here in a moment is we will do a very traditional Neihan thing, which involves cookies. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So because we're humans, and humans are funny, and we like cookies. So the tradition actually is that in a normative Japanese village temple, these treats would be made, and they're brought and they're offered to the Buddha, and then they're given to the Buddha, and then there's a great deal of merit that comes from this, and then everybody chews them and has fun and celebrates. And so we're going to do that too. And as lighthearted as it is, and it is lighthearted and it's a good thing, it's also really serious. Because what you're doing when you're doing this, if you're actually doing it in its own terms, is you're going to be given these cookies, and you have the chance to offer them to the Buddha. And if you imagine these cookies to be your life, the tragedies, the successes, the wonders and the terrors and the whole thing, if you're willing to just for a moment open the mind and imagine these cookies as the universe, because they are, and you offer them to awakening itself, they will be received. And that too is an immensely, it's beautiful. So come, join, be a part of this, play, and enjoy the play, but take the play seriously. Let's share some cookies.
I think the kids are on their way to join us. Yeah, he went to get them. But we're going to, in a moment, stand for the Heart Sutra, which is on page 6, and we will chant the Heart Sutra. It's on. Is it not? Is closer? Okay, there we go. All right. We'll be chanting the Heart Sutra while we're doing the cookie offering, and ushers will direct everyone to form 2 lines and each offer cookies to the teachers. And are the kids back? Are they here? Not yet. Okay. Okay. So please stand for the Heart Sutra. Great Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva practicing deep Prajna Paramita clearly saw that all 5 skandhas are empty, transforming all suffering and distress. Shariputra form is no other than emptiness, emptiness, no other than form, form is exactly emptiness, emptiness, exactly form, sensation, perception, mental reaction, consciousness are also like this. Shariputra, all things are essentially empty, not born, not destroyed, not stained, not pure, without loss, without gain. Therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no sensation, perception, mental reaction, consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no color, sound, smell, taste, touch, object of thought, no seeing, and so on, to no thinking, no ignorance, and there's also no ending of ignorance, and so on, so no old age and death, and also no ending of no age and death,
no suffering, cause of suffering, sensation hath no wisdom and no attainment, since there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva lives by Prajnaparamita with no hindrance in the mind, no hindrance, and therefore no fear, far beyond delusive thinking. Right here is nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future live by Prajnaparamita, attaining Anusara Samya Sambodhi. Therefore know that Prajnaparamita is a great sacred mantra, the great vivid mantra, the unsurpassed mantra, the supreme mantra, which completely removes all suffering. This is truth, not mere formality. Therefore set forth the Prajnaparamita mantra. Set forth this mantra and proclaim Gate para sam gate bodhisattva 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 gate para Gate, Parasam Gate, Bodhisattva, Gate, 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 Para Gate, Parasam Gate, Bodhisattva. By the vow made many ages ago, the world-honored one was born into this world for our sake, to guide people and gods towards the goal of nirvana. The compassion of the Buddha, like that of a mother, provided milk to all and nurtured them. Now he has gone to nirvana, leaving them to feel that they have lost their refuge. May the treasure of the Dharma and the light of the relics of the Buddha illuminate our path and help us escape from delusion. We dedicate all of the merit from the preceding recitations to the dragon spirits of the earth, who are protectors of the true Dharma. We humbly pray that their spiritual luminosity will aid us, that they will widely extend their beneficial protection, that this temple shall flourish, and that they shall long confer their selfless blessings. The pure body of the Dharma realm fundamentally has no emerging or disappearing. The power of the great vow of great compassion is manifest throughout the goings and comings of birth and death. We especially dedicate these merits to Debbie, Roger, Soke, Chuck, Shindo, Trudy, Katrina, and Mike. May they have peace and healing. And also, we dedicate our practice to Alan, Ken, Chris, Herb, Ellie at the time of their deaths, and also to Cindy and her family as she transitions. And we dedicate those names we now hold in the silence of our hearts. May we live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma And may we realize the Buddha way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, Bodhisattva, Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Mahaprajna Paramita.
Let me respectfully remind you, life and death are of supreme importance. Time swiftly passes by and opportunity is lost. Each of us should strive to awaken. Awaken, take heed, do not squander your life.
Thank you for being here, everyone, for our Nihon ceremony. Are there any announcements?
Good morning, everyone. My name's Edme. Just reminding Dharma school parents and teachers and perhaps future volunteers that we have a meeting next Sunday, the 25th, about I don't know if it's 1:30 or 2, but after service next week, it'll be a planning meeting, and we're going to be talking about the organization of Diner School going forward. So if you have any interest, please be there.
My name is Suiho. Next week will be the first Lam class, the in-depth study of the foundations of Buddhism, open to any member who has completed Jukai. It'll start at 8:30. The class meets monthly for 2 years, so it's a commitment, but it's a great one. It's going to be a really fantastic class. Today is the last day to sign up, so 12:01 tomorrow. I'm going to cut you off, but so please let me know if you have any questions, or there's a handout out on the table in the lobby as well. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kente. I have an announcement today on behalf of our Sangha Circle Coordinator, Ryushi, who's a distance member, Shokan student. And she wants me to let you all know that information about signing up for a Sangha Circle is coming soon in an email. And we have, I think, 8 circles available this year at different times. If you are a temple member and your membership is current, you are very invited to sign up for a Sangha Circle. If you're not sure what that is, these are small groups that meet in people's homes and discuss the Ango topics. And it's a really great way to get to know people and make connections and dig deeper into Ango. So hopefully you'll all receive that information soon. And you received that information. Everybody's nodding because they've already received that information, but I have not opened my emails yet. So I have not received it, but I'm glad you all have. Sign up soon. Thank you.
My name is Ten-Sen. I hear that the Lost and Found tote is quite full. So if you attended session and maybe something's not where you thought it was, you can't find it, check the Lost and Found. If you don't know where that's at, see me afterwards. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Chiju. Following our theme today, we have a death and dying workshop that starts at 1:30, talking about how to do a Buddhist Temple of Toledo funeral service. Hope to see you there.
And I was also supposed to mention that those aren't the only 3 cookies in the building. There are a lot more cookies that we are all going to share in the front room. And there is also, yes, it is a potluck day as well. So there is food and then there are cookies afterwards. Or before, if you're inclined that way. So please restore the Zendo.